it's not a rumor anymore. There's a coup. There was a coup plot, and people were rounded up. And the revolution came from Sahara reporters, the newspaper I founded. And their reaction. It's fake news. They sponsored their trolls. They were attacking everybody who revealed this. But we knew a long time ago that this was the situation. I think they started planning the coup since 2024, and I think it was followed in 2025.
They started, and, from the intel that you have, they started the planning from 2024.
Yes. Some of the sources that I spoke to told me that part of the reason the crackdown was very hard on the bad governance was because they knew around that time that some people were planning a coup. And I think some arrests of military officers were made around that period too. So if you notice during bad governance, their major grasp was that, there was Russian flags on the street and this would promote coup. And it was a time that all these Sahel countries had been taken over by military jackboots. So they started that around 2024, from what I heard. So, but I think maybe they didn't strike then, and then they kept monitoring some of them. A lot of them are disgruntled officers in the Nigerian army who felt that things are not going the way they should. But let me make it very clear, I can never support military rule. Again, I've seen the worst military rule in my lifetime. Nobody can come and tell me, fellow Nigeria, we know things are wrong. These military guys that are planning to take over, that are planning coup, will be worse than the civilians we have. What we should do, and I've said this, anybody who loves Nigeria, is for all of us to take on the system at once, have a revolution. You get another government in uniform, all these army generals we're seeing, colonels and all that, they're the one reason why there's insecurity in the country.
Friday, the 31st of October 2025 is today. Good evening. Thanks for joining me in this video. I think for those of you who have the ability to reason and reason very well, this is supposed to be your moment of reflection if you don't know about this thing that Omoyede Sowore said on News Central. Sowore granted an interview yesterday on News Central where he was talking about the issue of the military coup in Nigeria that started since 2024. That was last year. Last year, we had a protest, end bad governance protest. And during the protest, you could see that the Nigerian police force and the military, they clamped down the protesters. And not only that, you could see that even children were charged for treason. Why? Because the police perceived, they had information that people are preparing for military coup. And that period was the period where almost the whole West Africa, the thing was raging. That was Niger Republic just had their coup and people were afraid. And when during the protests in the northern Nigeria, you could see that a lot of people were waving Russian flag and so on and so forth. Well, waving Russian flag does not mean anything, but people were preparing to take over from Tinubu during the end bad governance protest. And because of that, the government started charging children for treason because they don't know who is who, where these people are coming from. So I want you to think now within yourself. If you have been in this country for this long and you don't know what is going on, now think again. I want to ask you, do you still know what is going on now? Absolutely not, you don't know. Yes, you might even be a politician, a House of Rep member, you're in Abuja there, a senator, you're in Abuja, but you don't know what is going on. So there are a lot of things that are going on in Nigeria, and it is called for a sober reflection because about 120 people cannot decide the destiny of every other people in Nigeria. And you are folding your hands, talking about next election, talking about this, talking about that, but the main thing is going on. Anyway, there are a lot of things that are still going on in Nigeria today. Those things are for the next videos because these are not new things. We have been saying this before. But on and on, we keep on having information about people's plan and so on and so forth. So it's a pity.
Our society is the way we use our conscience to fight power.
But what do you have to say? What do you have to say to people who feel that, protests don't have effect as it used to be anymore? We've seen multiple protests in recent times happen, yet those challenges still persist. Do you think that the approach should be changed?
Those who say so are saying so because they don't know how much they don't let people know the kind of changes that happen when a protest happens. That's part of the strategy of the state, to make people feel like protest is useless. I just told you now, and I'm sure you didn't know, that over 29,000 policemen who had not been promoted from 8 years were promoted because of the protest. Even the guy whose video I uploaded to my Facebook page, who said was paid 2 million naira as gratuity, eventually got 6 million. Now, there's a major debate to create a police pension board, which should give them better conditions of service. There are conversations that are happening because of protests that otherwise would not have happened. So I know this because I've been involved in a lot of protests. It was protests that brought us democracy. And let me tell you, all these people that tell you protest doesn't work, protest, you go and cheat them today, they'll protest. There's likely no former Nigerian president that has ever protested before. Obasanjo protested, Buhari protested, Tinubu not only protested, he was paying people for protests in this country until he became president. People protested for Goodluck Jonathan when he was hemmed in by the Yaradua Kappa.
Is that also, sorry to interrupt you, Omole, you have listed a couple of presidents who followed the line of protest. Is that also your strategy to get to the top?
No. If protests were to get somebody to the top, I think I would have become president some 20 years ago.
You've been a presidential candidate. A couple of times. So one might want to say maybe that is your strategy to get there.
No, I was protesting when I had no political interest. So I'm just trying to correct the impression that I'm not trying to do protest to power. That is what the APC people did. My own partisan involvement in politics is to fundamentally change Nigeria. The people who will become the next president may be people who have never protested before. So I'm just trying to tell you that, yes, I know that trick question, but that's not my intention. I've been protesting since I was 21 years old, when I wasn't qualified to be president, even if I wanted to.
Okay, but since you said that, so what's in it for you?
Betterment of the country. I'm hoping that in protesting all these terrible conditions, everybody can be conscientized, mobilized, and educated enough to seek total liberation one day. Because ultimately, it is when we put our feet on the ground, everybody protesting at once is called a revolution.
Now, let's talk about protest and how this current administration has handled it. I'm talking about the APC government since it assumed power. You said that quite a couple of them were part and parcel of protest in the past. But do we still see a government that is a product of protest rating protests now?
This APC regime, the All Progressives Congress, has treated protests the worst almost in the history of democratic rule. You remember Lekki Tollgate, where they opened fire on protesters, even during military rule in this country. I don't remember, except in Ikorodu Road when Abacha was passing and were protesting against G12, and he said his convoy was intercepted or interrupted, and he opened fire on people. We were almost killed on that day too, killed several people. Since then, the APC regime under Buhari was the first to kill that number of persons for protest. They killed Lekki Tollgate people. They massacred Shiites for protesting. What led to the massacre of Shiites was a protest in which an army officer claimed that, one of the protesters touched his chest in uniform. They went and mobilized at night and killed them and buried them in shallow graves. Tinubu is doing it. One of the reasons why I started my campaign against Ebuka was how he handled the August 2024 NBAC governance protest. How he picked up kids, shot at people indiscriminately across the north in particular, and then there was no remorse. Till today, he denies it. But he was the first Inspector General of Police who used his office to charge underage kids for treason. And some people have forgotten. And since then, I said, well, this guy have no place in modern, in a democratic society and in a modern police place. So that was cause of it. So I can tell you categorically that these guys don't want expression of opinions, like freedom of movement or freedom to protest. They use the courts the most. They have judges who do their bidding when it comes to what they call Cybercrime Act. Any little thing you say about an APC person, you're in jail. Anything you say about any protest, you're in jail. High-handedness, they're brutal at, protesters. But what I can tell you is that minds are hardening, and one day they'll get their comeuppance.
All right, let's move away from protest, and let's talk about a recent development that, came, even though it's pretty much at the level of the shadows. And that's the rumor of, a coup plot that has, been at the center of conversations. We recently saw Mr. President even overhaul his service chiefs. I mean, with all of these recent developments, what's your take on Sowore?
Well, as you are aware, it's not a rumor anymore. There's a coup. There was a coup plot, and people were rounded up. And the revolution came from Sahara reporters, the newspaper I founded. And their reaction. It's fake news. They sponsored their trolls. They were attacking everybody who revealed this. But we knew a long time ago that this was the situation. I think they started planning the coup since 2024, and I think it was followed in 2025.
They started, and, from the intel that you have, they started the planning from 2024.
Yes. Some of the sources that I spoke to told me that part of the reason the crackdown was very hard on the bad governance was because they knew around that time that some people were planning a coup. And I think some arrests of military officers were made around that period too. So if you notice during bad governance, their major grasp was that, there was Russian flags on the street and this would promote coup. And it was a time that all these Sahel countries had been taken over by military jackboots. So they started that around 2024, from what I heard. So, but I think maybe they didn't strike then, and then they kept monitoring some of them. A lot of them are disgruntled officers in the Nigerian army who felt that things are not going the way they should. But let me make it very clear, I can never support military rule. Again, I've seen the worst military rule in my lifetime. Nobody can come and tell me, fellow Nigeria, we know things are wrong. These military guys that are planning to take over, that are planning coup, will be worse than the civilians we have. What we should do, and I've said this, anybody who loves Nigeria, it's all of us to take on the system at once, have a revolution. You get another government in uniform. All these army generals we're seeing, colonels, and all that, they're the reason why there's insecurity in the country. Some of the most undisciplined set of people you can imagine in the country, corrupt, they own real estate in Abuja. They're the ones, some of them supplying weapons to terrorists and bandits. So I'm never going to support a military takeover of power. I'm just giving you information that I have.
All right. Just before I let you know, do you think that this recent overhaul of the security chiefs by Mr. President would improve the security situation in the country? A simple answer.
If he was serious, and you can accuse me of bias, you should have fired Ebuka, then I would know that he wants to improve the security architecture. I think one military guy said today that even in all of this, you should go and overhaul the police. That tells you that this is a joke.
All right. It's been a pleasure having